Welcome to Detroit Performs, the Kresge Honors. A tribute to 10 years of Kresge's Eminent Artist Awards. And now, from the Jack White Theater in Detroit, here is your host, Rip Rapson.
Good evening and welcome to Kresge Honors. I'm Rip Rapson. Tonight we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Kresge Eminent Artist Award with a special tribute to each of the individual artists and his or her unique contribution to the rich culture we are all so fortunate to experience here in Detroit. Each year, the award recognizes a Metro Detroit artist whose work and career exemplify sustained, outstanding achievement and a commitment to sharing that work with the local community. Tonight, we recognize those artists in a series of special performances right here from the Jack White Theater at the Masonic Temple in downtown Detroit. And now, for our first honoree. In 2008, Kresge recognized Charles McGee as its inaugural Eminent Artist. Charles's paintings and sculptures have symbolized his ever-expanding search for hope and justice. His bold creative signature has inspired Detroit and the world through public and private works on display in personal collections, museums, and civic spaces. He has been a teacher and a mentor to thousands of young artists. He has founded galleries and arts organizations and created opportunities for others to share their work and their ideas. And now, to honor the legacy of Charles McGee, please welcome Mike Ellison with Beryl Peanut Smith performing United We Stand.
The enormous Sahara deserts, scorching sands, span the northern third of the African continent's gorgeous land. Extracted by storms, massive dust plumes form, and of the 182 million tons thrust up into an atmospheric lawn, 27 million, which is enough dust to fill 100,000 semi-trucks, treks 1,600 miles over the Atlantic Ocean's westward course, then slowly descends upon the Amazon rainforest. This phosphoric soil, placed in the basin, feeds flora, thusly creating the most fascinating ecosystem environmental scientists have ever seen. The astonishing key to this uniquely flourishing network of ecological diversity is 15% of the African fragments, the sands, that annually withstand this natural, magical odyssey. Conversely, tragically, ironically, historians have suggested an equal percentage of African captives perished during the disastrous man-made Middle Passage. With its torturous nautical voyages, the Ma'afa, the suffering, sought to destroy us as 400 years of our ancestral phosphorus made America vastly prosperous. And while race is actually a conceptual fallacy forged into reality with the tools of iniquity and therefore lacking structural integrity, we still have to acknowledge this. Africans have inhabited every corner of the planet, and let me be candid. Wherever, whenever we landed, we literally gave nations civilization while being taken for granted. That said, the Sahara South America shared heritage bears the narrative and perspective that all living things are inherently connected, consistently enlisting this as a lifelong message with commitment, kindness, and culture, masterfully crafting timeless sculptures. The modest Charles McGee also models the ingredients for living optimally. A childlike love for learning that never rests. Proficiency that relentlessly produces excellence and an aesthetic benevolence that endeavors to mesh disparate elements into cohesive elegance. Even when he was deemed a lowly Negro in the evil throes of Jim Crow sharecropping. even when he could not vote, as an enlisted United States Marine serving in Nagasaki after the atomic bombing, as a factory-working father, mentoring countless scholars toward prominence in an ominous era marred by murder, civil rights murders, murdered by murder, civil rights martyrs, protests, rebellions, and armed troops hell-bent on repelling them, and perhaps most compelling then, as a modern-day artisan whose greatness remains astounding at 9+ decades and counting. His resounding body of work, boundlessly expanding, landing like love, replenishing waning spirits, lifting us, gifting us with sustenance and covenant-painted lyrics, transposing rants from opposing political and social camps into soulful jazz. You see, Charles McGee's artistry converts these complex cacophonies into harmonies more audibly discernible to the common ear, and his distinct timbre is always clear. We are merely a series of lines, shapes, colors, values, and textures scattered across the land as individualized strands. But in the end, united, we stand.
You are watching the Kresge Honors here at the Jack White Theater in Detroit. I'm Angela Theis, joined by W. Kim Herron. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Ann.
It's great to be here with you.
What
an incredible performance.
We are starting.
We are starting.
In high form.
We should mention that Mike Ellison, who you heard recite that poem and wrote that poem as well, was born in Ethiopia but found his creative voice when he got to Detroit. And he was joined by Darrell Peanut Smith for an unbelievable tribute to Charles McGee, who we absolutely love in the Motor City, and we see his work pop up, you know, when you're going about your business or you happen to drive by the Wright Museum and you see United We Stand there. It is captivating, beautiful work that is so incredibly alive.
And we should mention that we have his daughter, Lindsay McGee, and her partner, John Lambie, here celebrating this event. And you're right, his work is everywhere. I mean, you have that feeling of rising when you see that sculpture outside the museum. We're downtown in Capitol Park, we have an enormous mural by Charles Wright. In William Beaumont Hospital, at the DIA, I keep going back to his pieces over and over. And of course, Mike Ellison's piece speaks to the way that artists influence other artists, and frankly, they influence us. That's why we're here today, celebrating them. Yeah. But you hear that kind of, and you'll see it a number of times tonight, where an artist has influenced someone who may not be even in the same genre, same generation. That's the way art works, especially in Detroit.
Well, that is true. You know, that's one of the things that we're celebrating tonight is all of these artists who really did their most creative work when they were here in Detroit. And they talk so much about it and how just the environment and the people influence the work that they would end up doing. So it is our honor to honor Mr. Charles McGee tonight. I'm Angela Theis once again here with W. Kim Herron. We're going to go back to the stage with Rip Rapson.
In 2014, Kresge named photographer Bill Rawhauser as eminent artist. Bill devoted decades to capturing on film what he described as society in constant motion. Best known for his Detroit-inspired street photography, Bill also gained national attention through works exhibited at a Museum of Modern Art and prestigious galleries in New York and beyond. Among his many contributions, Bill also taught photography at Detroit's College for Creative Studies for 30 years, where he led students to successful careers and creative achievement. Now, to honor the life and work of the late Bill Rawhauser, please welcome percussionist Patrick Fitzgibbon.
You're watching the Kresge Honors here at the Jack White Theater, recorded live. I'm Angela Theis, here with W. Kim Herron and Rick Rogers from the College for Creative Studies. It was amazing to look at these photos as in larger than life, which we typically don't see them this way, and to see Detroit alive in a completely different time. It was very exciting. So, Rick, you knew Bill Rauser.
Yes.
What about him stays with you? When you think of him, what do you think of?
Yeah, I mean, he contributed so much to the Detroit Institute of Arts, you know, from his knowledge of the history of photography, and of course, being imbued with that knowledge at the same time as being such a superb photographer himself made him like the consummate teacher. And he was kind of the dean of the photographic community of Detroit for many years. And there are countless very, very successful photographers around here and across the country who studied with Bill and were mentored by Bill. And even when he stopped being a full-time instructor at CCS, which actually was before I became president, the mentoring never stopped. You know, the contributions to the next generation just went on and on.
The other thing I thought was amazing was when you see these pictures, I mean, we could see them not in their normal aspect. You were seeing the pictures like they're alive again.
Absolutely.
You know, because there are whole new ways of picturing. When you look at even pieces of his picture are pictures.
Yeah. Well, I just, you know, you look at the faces in those pictures and you see so much depth. You see the character, you see the emotion, you see what's going through the mind of that person at that particular point where he snapped it. And, you know, that's what Cartier-Bresson was all about, capturing the moment. And Bill was a master at it. But that moment, he showed the richness of every moment of our lives.
Thank you so much, Rick, for sharing your thoughts about an incredible artist. Thank you so much for being with us. Once again, we're going to go back to the stage with Rip Rapson.
In 2009, Kresge honored trumpeter Marcus Belgrave as its eminent artist. Known as a master of American jazz, Marcus captivated audiences in Detroit, across the United States, and around the world. His eminence was exemplified by his contributions to the jazz community, to Detroit's cultural scene, and to generations of jazz musicians. His tireless work, amazing technical ability, and the joy and spontaneity with which he created and performed distinguished him as an admired and respected jazz master. Now, to honor the life and work of the late Marcus Belgrave, please welcome Joan Belgrave and the Marcus Belgrave Legacy Band performing All My Love.
You came from a dream, I never knew just how sweet love could be. Suddenly I was wrapped up in the night. I will give you all my love, not until forever and ever. Don't you know you and I'll be together? We'll go, you and I. We'll weather the storms. The storms of life will come to make us strong, and we will be together, not until forever and ever. Don't you know you and I'll be together? I'll give all my love. I'll give it to you, and I know that you will give me your love too, because a love like ours is special. It shines a light so bright the whole world can see it, and we both know that when trials and tribulations come around to each other, we know that it's me and you. I love to see you, and I will give you all my love, not until forever and ever. Don't you know you and I'll be together? Summer shines a light so bright the whole world can see it. And we both know that when trials and tribulations come to hold on to each other, we know that it's me and you, our love will see it through. And I will give it all my love, now until forever and ever. Don't you know you and I'll be together? Summer, winter, fall, the seasons come and go, and I'll be right there with you, don't you know?
You're watching the Kresge Honors, recorded live here at the Jack White Theater in Detroit. I'm Angela Theis, joined by W. Kim Heron. We just heard a wonderful performance by Joan Belgrave. She is, carrying on her husband's legacy, which is wonderful to see. You know, Kim and I were talking about Marcus Belgrave earlier today. I mean, there's no lack of things to say about Marcus Belgrave, but he was one of those people who would walk into a room and it changed the dynamic of an entire room every time he walked in. And I think Marcus was 5'4" or something, but he was larger than life with that incredible smile and that twinkle in his eye. And I remember seeing him so many times, and seriously, before he would even play a note, it was like, oh my gosh, Marcus Belgrave just walked in.
That's crazy energy.
He did.
Yes,
he just had this incredible energy about him. And you just wanted to be around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that song, All My Love, it was a song that he wrote. A lot of one of his best-known tunes. A lot of people think of it as kind of a traditional, love song. He actually intended it and told for the people of Detroit. He was a guy from Chester, Pennsylvania. He had been with Ray Charles and had traveled. There was a call up for Chester, yay Chester. And he had traveled the world with Ray Charles when Ray Charles and his band were kind of defining what we now call soul music.
Yep,
a lot of it came out of the Ray Charles band when Marcus was there. He settled in Detroit and becomes so much of the community that he writes his song for it. And Joan Belgrave added those words to kind of give in case you missed the point of the music alone, here it is.
So we are grateful to all of you for coming here and joining us tonight as we are honoring so many of these incredible artists that Kresge identified for the past 10 years as their contribution to Detroit and its arts and culture being very, very significant. And so we are glad that you were able to join us. And now we continue by going back to the stage here at the Jack White Theater, back to Rip Rapson.
In 2016, Kresge honored photographer Leni Sinclair as its eminent artist. A photographer and cultural activist, Leni is widely recognized for documenting Detroit's counterculture movement and its accompanying rock scene of the 1960s and 70s. Known as both an artist and an instigator, Leni captured critical moments, chronicling the human condition and providing a close-up view to our history. Her iconic photographs are a blend of the beautiful and the provocative, the extraordinary and the everyday, reflective of Detroit's culture and sense of possibility. Now, to honor the significant contributions of photographer Leni Sinclair, please welcome veteran filmmaker and arts educator Harvey Ovshinsky with guitarist Duminie De Porres.
Just wanted to set the mood. Thank you, Duminie. And thank you, Rip, for the introduction, and to the Kresge Foundation for honoring my friend Leni Sinclair with the 2016 Eminent Artist Award. She's a very shy person. I promised I wouldn't embarrass her too much. In preparing my remarks, I found myself flashbacking to a time 54 years ago. Doesn't roll off the tongue, when I first met Leni and John in their apartment in the Wayne State University area called the Warren Forest. Google it, because it's not there anymore. Back then, the word hippie wasn't in my vocabulary. I thought John and Leni were beatniks, and I was looking forward to meeting one, or in this case, two. But what also I remember profoundly was the first meeting. Leni stepped out of the kitchen. We were having a conversation, John and I. Leni stepped out of the kitchen, spatula in hand. As I recall, making spaghetti and meatballs. She said it was the only thing she knew how to make. And she stepped up and she said, if I was interested, would I care to publish some of her pictures? If I was interested. As if I weren't. I was desperate. The Fifth Estate in those days, it was the underground paper that I started, freshly graduated from Mumford High School. And it was very special and very important in the history of Detroit journalism, but it was ugly. Yeah. I mean, it was so boring and uninteresting to read, it hurt. So back in November 1965 with that first issue, there were no photographs, no graphics really, except for a Pfeiffer cartoon we stole from the LA Free Press. No real images of any kind that could even begin to capture the energy, the excitement, the youth, and the vitality of what Detroit was beginning to feel like and look like in the mid-1960s. Not like Leni could. Nobody could do it like she could, and I was very grateful. Leni Sinclair was our Gordon Parks, our Doretha Lang, our Annie Leibovitz, our James Van Der Zee, in one package. She was a master at not only capturing the image, but also in mainly the essence and really the very heart of the people and the characters she found fighting the good fight back in the day. Protesting, struggling, sacrificing, not only for their art, by the way, which she captured so well, but for peace and freedom and civil rights and equality and social justice, issues that were every bit as important to Leni and John and her family as was her art. Because Leni knew there was never any division or separation between her work and her art. Lighting is important, framing is important, composition is important, and all these are important tools for a photographer. But Leni knew and understood even then, before she was eminent, she was just merely very good, that content counts. Content matters. That the first most important first rule of storytelling, and my students at the Creative Studies College where I also taught will testify, is the first most important first rule of storytelling is to have something to say. The first most important first rule, and I have dozens, is to have something to say, which may explain why Leni Sinclair doesn't do landscapes. I'm sorry, Leni, you're brilliant, but no Ansel Adams. No. For as long as I've known her, wilderness didn't interest her. Monuments and nature didn't impress. They didn't speak to her. They didn't move her the way her people did, and still do. And how lucky are we? Thank you, Leni.
You're watching the Kresge Honors, recorded live here at the Jack White Theater in Detroit. I'm Angela, joined by W. Kim Herron. That was Duminie De Porres and on guitar, and Harvey Ovshinsky, reminiscing about the fabulous, the wonderful, the incredible Leni Sinclair. We love you, Leni. So, Kim, Leni's images, those of us who have been, who have seen her images, they stay with you. Like those images of the MC5, you'll never forget them. The images of Prince. As a matter of fact, when Leni and I had spoken, she talked about, I asked her about the Prince photos, because she's got this iconic Prince photo, and she said, I didn't even want to go see him. Her daughter wanted to go see Prince, and she ended up going there and completely blown away, and the rest is history when it comes to Prince, of course. But she captured these moments in time that were absolutely brilliant. And
these are some of the pictures, you know, when the New Yorker wants to write about John Coltrane, that's the picture that they went to last time. You know, when you talk about the MC5, if they don't use that picture and you know it, you think about that picture anyway. I mean, they actually are iconic. There's simply no other words. They're kind of seared in your memory. And when the Fela became a big stage show, that was the image that they worked off of for the poster.
Every poster was Leni's image of Fela, yes, absolutely. But we talked, Kim and I were talking earlier, because when Leni took that shot of John Coltrane, you know, at that time, it was very dark, and she would have to have, John Coltrane would have had to stay still for a long enough time for Leni to capture that one image. And she got the one shot where he was right under the light. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the only good shot in the whole roll.
The whole roll.
Other iconic photos, of course, the MC5 and Prince and Fela. She took some incredible images of Jimi Hendrix as well that are really wonderful. And there's one photo in particular that Leni took of Marcus Belgrave. And I think Marcus was standing outside at a funeral and the snow was falling and he had his trumpet to his mouth. It's an absolutely stunning, stunning photo. And it's no surprise because so many of Leni's images are stunning. So we are honored to have her here tonight, and thank you for joining us. We are going to go back to the stage right now as you are here with the Kresge Honors tonight. Here again is Rip Rapson.
In 2017, Kresge honored harpist and educator Patricia Terry Ross as eminent artist. A prodigious commitment to craft led Patricia from Detroit to the University of Michigan to a 40-year tenure with the Michigan Opera Theater. She has performed with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, played behind artists from Pavarotti to Johnny Mathis, and sweetened records by Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, and other legendary Motown artists. An award-winning educator at Cass Tech High School and Wayne State University, Patricia has shaped the careers of countless young Detroit musicians. Now, to honor Patricia Terry Ross and her outstanding musical career, please welcome Aya Simone.
You're watching the Kresge Honors, recorded live here at the Jack White Theater in Detroit. I'm Ann DeLisi, along with W. Kim Herron. I think Stevie Wonder would approve.
I think he's smiling someplace right now.
Absolutely. That was an amazing performance by Aya Simone. Yes.
Yeah, do it again. Do it again.
There's a harp here. You almost want to get Patricia Terry Ross up there to play something for us, too. I'm only kidding.
Well, in a way, but that's kind of the way the influence goes. I mean, you could say she's playing through her students, so it's kind of, you know.
It was absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So Patricia Terry Ross, you know, we heard earlier, you know, she spent all of this time with the Detroit Opera Theater, but she did a lot for Motown. And so earlier we discussed the fact that there are a lot of Motown songs where Patricia Terry Ross performs. And when you start to realize that she's on them, you're like, oh, without her part, there would be something missing there. Without her harp parts. If you listen to Papa Was a Rolling Stone, in particular, you're like, oh, all these flourishes that she put in that are absolutely perfect in that song. You're all gonna go home and go, I'm gonna pull out that song, I'm gonna listen to that once again. What is she talking about? I'm telling you, you have to go listen to that song in particular, but she had done all of these amazing sessions with Motown, so she would work all day, full day, and then maybe grab dinner, and then she would work all night recording at Motown, because they would work all night. A lot of musicians did it that way. And one of the things that she did that I am completely jealous of was she had breakfast with Marvin Gaye. Yeah, that is an applause getter right there, and bragging rights for Patricia Terry Ross. And she talked about how they went to this diner because there was a problem with the session, and she ended up sitting there with Marvin Gaye having breakfast.
And during her day job, you know, was teaching at Cass Tech in one of the great music programs, one of the great harp programs. And Aya Simone was a student who might have wound up in, I don't know, engineering or something else, but she happened to take a harp class and her life was changed.
We are happy to be honoring her again here tonight. And now we're going to go back to the stage. You are watching the Kresge Honors. Let's join Rip Rapson once again.
In 2011, Kresge named Bill Harris its eminent artist. A talented novelist, poet, and playwright, Bill is well known for creating esteemed literary works, authentic storytelling, and compelling dialogue that capture the essence of his Detroit roots. His writings combine the beat of his beloved jazz with the life and breath of his characters, giving voice to those he knows best. Drawing on actual life events, cultural history, and his own imagination, Bill tells stories that are timeless and universal, all the while grounded in the rhythmic tempo of the city he loves. Tonight we honor Bill Harris with a reading from his play, Robert Johnson, Trick the Devil. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome actor and musician Robert Jones.
My daddy picked cotton, and the white man picked him. Picked him clean as a hound's tooth. When I was a child coming up, looked like to me, him and all the rest like him was planted so deep down they couldn't break loose to grow up toward the sun. It was some men I seen wasn't like that. I said to myself, these are special, some hoodoo kind of Negroes here. Had them a hoodoo so strong they could escape the hell of being planted and plucked, come back with big city northern names on their mouth. St. Louis, Chicago, New York, Detroit. Bragging about wild women and sweet whiskey and greenback dollar bills. And them ground planted men like my daddy couldn't do nothing but watch. While all the while they women would laugh for them hoodoo men like they didn't laugh for nobody else. And you know what that hoodoo was that them men had? Singing and playing the blues. Singing and playing the blues. So shoot, yeah, I hung around them, trying to learn that hoodoo that they had. Now, I could play the harmonica when I was a little boy, but I soon put that down. To my way of thinking, if a little boy could do it, couldn't be too much hoodoo to it. Couldn't make the women's wild and make the men have to get drunk and want to fight you. So I put that harmonica down, and I got after this guitar. I got to where I could slip that slide and make it talk to me like my best buddy. Make it hum and howl. Like a wind whining over a gravestone. Or make it squall. Like a freight train flying across the midnight silver moon. Or make it moan like a woman, touch low, slow, deep down to her soul. But it's two-sided. Be times I be playing and in the midst of all of the dancing and drinking and carrying on, it be one somebody, maybe a man or woman, looking at me, just looking, quiet and steady as oak tree. First time it happened, had a cold chill run over me, and a low feeling like somebody had just stepped across my unmarked grave. I had a wife and child that died during birthing. She wasn't but 16 years old, and I wasn't but barely a boy myself. That's the worst I ever felt. Worse than my mom and daddy separating. So I ain't talking low like that, but scary. Because I know they're getting more than the good times and the fun out of what I'm doing. It's touching more than their feet. It done got down inside of them, and it's like they looking to me, holding me responsible for driving away their troubles and heartache. Well, I got me something that I can do as good as anybody I know, and something to make my name known, and all I wants to do is to be left alone to do it. I almost wish there's a big crowd down there right now. Oh, we'd go downstairs and I'd sing and they'd shout and reel and till they don't give a damn. And maybe all together we could raise up Miss Georgia's colored juke joint till it break loose from this old messy world and float off like a robin on a reef of breeze.
You are watching the Kresge Honors live here at the Jack White Theater. I'm Ann DeLisi once again here with W. Kim Herron. That was the incredible Robert Jones, bringing Robert Johnson to life through Bill Harris's words to Detroit treasures for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, this play has been done dozens of times, and Robert did it here in Detroit. And you know, you couldn't find anyone better to do that kind of thing. And you know, it's both, Robert can give you that plain spoken thing out of the blues. We both go back a long way with Robert. Right. And then you have the collision with Bill, who has this incredible sense of what language is in a way that people are poetic without meaning to be. And of course, Bill is a poet, so he's meaning to it. So this is going to be a bit of a conundrum here. But he has an ability to make people sound like themselves and also project so much and say so much. If I were a word, I would want to end up frequently in one of Bill's plays. You know, if I were like or even like a hoodoo. If I were the word hoodoo, I would want to really be having a lot of play there.
We'll ask Bill Harris what word he wants you to be later on. That could be dangerous, I guess.
I know, I'm digging a hole there.
So Bill Harris, of course, could write in any genre, so it appeared, but like so many of our eminent artists, he was an educator. And again, changing the lives of so many that crossed his path. He graduated from Wayne State himself, he went to Cass Tech himself, and he would go on to have people like Abbey Lincoln and Denzel Washington say his words.
That's why I want to be in one of the plays.
Okay. Kim wins. We're going to go back to the stage once again. Here are the Kresge Honors. Here again is Rip Rapson.
In 2015, designer Ruth Adler Schnee was named Kresge Eminent Artist. A pioneer in forging the modern look of architectural interiors, Ruth also played a leading role in redefining post-war America's sense of public space, working with some of the world's most prominent architects. She became famous for her mid-century modern designs and revered for her perseverance as a Jewish immigrant whose family escaped Nazi Germany. Ruth helped shape a new sensibility in a male-dominated field through the value of inclusiveness and an entrepreneurial spirit. Now, to honor Ruth Adler Schnee, please welcome Biba Bell.
You are watching the Kresge Honors, recorded live at the Jack White Theater here in Detroit I'm W. Kim Herron with Ann DeLisi, and joining us for this segment, Olga Stella from Design Corps, Executive Director of Design Corps. You know, Detroit is such an important city in the world of design. And part of that, what we've achieved is really through that era of the modernist that Ruth Adler Schnee was such a big part of, right?
Absolutely. Her legacy and that of the others from 50 years ago and through today is what makes us the only UNESCO city design in the United States.
And what exactly does that mean for?
So it means we're part of an international network of cities, 31 design cities across the world that are all using design to drive equitable and sustainable development. We're learning from each other, and Detroit is contributing its advances in inclusive design as part of that international network.
So how did Detroit what was it about Detroit that made them want us to be part of this collective?
Well, it's the work of people like Ruth, right? And I mean, Ruth was a pioneer in so many ways through her time at Cranbrook, through her entrepreneurialism and the business that she started with her husband, through her artistry and the long-lasting career. And so when you look at the talents that we've had here in Detroit, embodied by people like Ruth, and the work that's happening today on the ground in community, really that grassroots design effort that's happening throughout the city, those things together really set, something unique that they didn't have in other places, not only in our country, but really around the world.
For sure. And one of the things about Ruth is that spirit of working and entrepreneurialism. So many people, you're probably too young to remember the Adler Schnee store in downtown Harmony Park, but a lot of these people that we are honoring today have taught in one way or another. The Adler Schnee store was actually an entrepreneurial enterprise that was also a teaching center in its own way.
Well, I think that legacy continues on today. When we look at the entrepreneurs across our city, if we look at Post on Kercheval Street on the east side of Detroit, you've got a group of the small design businesses working together in an open studio where the public can come and see. I think that legacy, Ruth's legacy, really lives on in our entrepreneurs today.
Thank you so much, Olga. We're going to return to the stage once again with the Kresge Honors and Rip Rapson.
In 2012, Kresge named poet Naomi Long Madgett as its eminent artist. Naomi's body of work reflects the strength and determination of her singular approach to life and language. A gifted poet, publisher, educator, and mentor, she established a voice for African American women and created a standard for countless other writers. A literary heroine and Detroit's poet laureate, Naomi's pioneering work is a complement to her educational commitment, prolific publishing, and passion for elevating other poets. Now, to honor the contributions of Naomi Long Madgett, please welcome performance artist Mahogany Jones.
Fragment of a dream. A letter has fallen out of my name. It tumbled over and over itself. I can't retrieve it, and without it, I do not know who I am. Who knew that adjectives and verbs grew limbs? That conjunctions could conjure resurrection? That an and or a but or however or yet would be the welcome interruption to what many deem to be the end of a story for pushed out people. But with every poem published, with each pupil nurtured, you crafted new beginnings, new what could be's, new what should be's, new what ifs, new possibilities, and new worlds. Who knew that with proper intention, that a tale told true would restore the sight of the blind, an entire world blind. But because of you, they see me now. See my black, see my Detroit, see my woman, see my African, see my birthright to be all of the above and American and respected. Thank you. Thank you for your magic, you brave sword-wielding, wild warrior of a woman. Thank you for your unyielding. Thank you for your relentless. Thank you for devoting your life to gathering our letters, giving us wings, cloaking us with the dignity of finally being visible. Thank you for giving us the means to finally know who we are and celebrate that. And with that, we celebrate you, Dr. Madgett.
You're watching the Kresge Honors, recorded live at the Jack White Theater here in Detroit in the Masonic Temple. With me, we have Ann DeLisi. I'm W. Kim Heron, by the way. Ann DeLisi is here with me, and Marsha Music is joining us. Marsha, and we should mention that Marsha is a Kresge Artist Fellow, and many of the people that we'll be hearing or have heard tonight are fellows. Robert Jones, Aya Simone, and Biba Bell, another one. So Marsha, could you talk a little bit Naomi and put her in that context of kind of, there's certain kind of DIY consciousness in Detroit of doing it, just going ahead and doing it. I mean, there was no Lotus Press. There was no Broadside Press, you know, of artists deciding that they have to create their own avenues to get the word out as a Detroit tradition.
Well, this type of a DIY impulse in Detroit manifested itself even in the literary world, because Detroit is such a font of creativity. And after the beginning of the last century, Detroit really began to hit its stride and manifest in its sheer magnificence in industry, in music, in all of these things, this cauldron that made up this mosaic of Detroit. And the literary arts began to have a manifestation within the African American community, pressed as we were in very limited physical spaces. We could not live everywhere that we wanted to live. We could not work all the jobs we may wanted to work, so we were rather constricted. But that constriction also caused such a volcanic explosion of creativity. And it was such a beautiful thing that you began to see poets, writers, publishers beginning to express this manifestation of the beauty of Detroit as expressed through its Black citizens.
And that, now we know why you're a fellow.
Oh, bless your heart.
And that manifestation continues today in kind of one generation
yes,
taking inspiration from what came before.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It's really kind of an amazing phenomenon here in Detroit. Detroit is a very special place, and Detroit is different. And so it is very important that the Naomi Long Patches of today be nurtured as they come along and write about this city.
Thank you so much, Marsha. Thank you again for being here with us. This is the Kresge Honors. We go once again to the stage with Rip Rapson.
In 2013, Kresge selected David DiChiera as eminent artist. Renowned for his unwavering commitment to Detroit, David was a leader in the city's early revitalization through the creation of the Detroit Opera House. Through his passion for opera, he became an advocate for all art forms. He nurtured individual artists. He fostered collaborations among arts organizations. And he supported the composition and production of new operas that reflected the communities in which they were performed. Although David's influence reaches far beyond his adopted hometown, Detroiters will always be the beneficiaries of his artistic vision. Now, to honor impresario David DiChiera, please welcome soprano Angela Theis, baritone Jonathan Lash, with Gene Schneider at the piano.
Roxane, adieu. Je vais mourir. J'ai l'âme lourde au corps d'amour inexprimé. Et je jamais plus mes yeux grisés ne baisseront à vol les gestes que vous faites. J'aurai vos appétits qui vous est familier pour toucher votre front, et je voudrais crier adieu, ma chère, ma chérie, mon trésor, mon
You're watching the Kresge Honors here at the Jack White Theater at the Masonic Temple. We're recording this live. I'm Ann DeLisi along with W. Kim Heron. What an incredible performance that was.
Detroit's got it all, right, don't we?
Detroit does have it all. You know, I was thinking about David DiChiera when he decided to launch the Opera Theater in 1971. How many people told him it was a bad idea?
At David's funeral, many people would take the stage and they would talk about the fact that it was, of course, at the Opera House, right. And they would kind of conjure up and recall what erect hulk that was and talk about walking through there with David, and he would make them see what people were living with in 2018. And he could just kind of project people into the future, and they all signed on to that crazy dream. And we have an opera house, we have opera, and we have beautiful music like that from David Cyrano.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All you need to do is tell a Detroiter not to do something that's impossible and no one's going to show up, and that's kind of what you get, which is wonderful. And again, you know, another one of our eminent artists who went on to influence so many artists that would come after him. If there was no opera theater, how many of these singers would never have had a place to develop into the singers that they had become? And so David was a teacher as well at Oakland University. He was a music chair, the chair of the music department, I believe, there. And so that was such a big part of his life.
Right. And he also pushed, I think the organization was New Opera America, but he was through these organizations, he kind of pushed the commissioning because he thought that opera should be a live art. And he thought that it should be a diverse art reflective of the community. So we were just so happy to have him as part of our cultural legacy.
We're going to go right back to the stage here at the Kresge Honors. Once again, here's Rip Rapson.
In 2018, Kresge named musician Wendell Harrison as its 10th eminent artist. An accomplished saxophone and clarinet player, Wendell has been a leader in the musicians' self-determination movement and has served as an ambassador for Detroit's jazz community. In addition to his high energy and his expressive playing, Wendell has been a composer, band leader, educator, organizer, and entrepreneur. He has paved the way for generations of Detroit artists by sharing his insights into the art and business of music. Here to honor Wendell Harrison, please welcome Alexis Lambre at the piano with Everett Reed, Brian Juarez, and Jeffrey Trent.
You're watching the Kresge Honors here, recorded live at the Jack White Theater at the Masonic Temple. I'm Ann DeLisi, here with W. Kim Herron. The music just keeps getting better and better. It's been an incredible night already, and we have one heck of a performance coming up to close the night.
Absolutely. What we heard is a thing called Jazz on the Run, although originally it was called The Angry Young Man. It's a piece that goes back to the 70s when Wendell had kind of been out in the jazz scene. He came back in New York. He'd come back to Detroit, and was becoming kind of a center for musicians. Once again, talk about that self-determination thing, that DIY thing, of musicians who gathered together under the banner of Tribe. A guy named Phil Ranelin. Let's hear it for Tribe, yeah. A guy named Phil Ranelin was a co-founder, and Marcus Belgrave, the late Harold McKinney, many of the Detroit musicians who were around at that time were part of that, worked under that umbrella, and their music is still treasured around the world. They're constantly being, those things are constantly being reissued. And Wendell, though, is kind of continuing as that spirit of just plowing ahead.
So it's been really exciting to watch his career, and then of course honoring him last year. And we should let you know that later on tonight you're going to hear who the 2019 eminent artist is before we wrap things up. So let's get back to Mr. Rip Rapson as you are here and joining us for the Kresge Honors. Mr. Rapson.
So thank you for joining us for the Kresge Honors, our celebration of 10 years of Kresge Arts in Detroit. As we conclude tonight's program, we have one more surprise in store for you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce Gloria House as the 2019 Kresge Eminent Artist. It sounds like many of you know Gloria for her poetry and as a scholar, an essayist, and an activist. For those of you who don't know Gloria, I promise you'll hear much more about her in the weeks and months ahead. Please join me again in congratulating Gloria House, who is here with us tonight. So now, to take us out, please welcome back to the stage the incredible Mike Ellison, along with Delaney DeLove Ragland and Ryan Tycho, to perform Warrior's Rhythm. And from all of us here at the Jack White Theater in downtown Detroit, I'm Rip Rapson. Thanks for watching.
If you would all be so kind, please raise your right hand high in the sky. Your right hand. Now let's make that one finger, one thumb, like this. And in the spirit of the late, great Bob Marley, somebody say one love. Everybody say one love. As we honor these beacons of our creative community, for those of you who can, would you please stand with us in unity? One of the many modes of traditional Ethiopian music is called Tigrinya. And with Tigrinya, we normally dance around in circles. But tonight, we're just gonna go left to right, like this. Follow me, like this, like this. Y'all can get in the aisles if you want. You can come to the front if you want. You all look very beautiful and elegant, but now it's time to lose your cool. Now if you're smooth like us, you put your shoulders into it a little something like that. Then you gotta look away real slick like somebody called your name. Moving in unison, we add the chant from the Amhara culture. And it goes like this. Say Yahoo, say Yahoo, say Yahoo. Come on, Yahoo, louder, Yahoo. One more Yahoo, Yahoo. As the true warrior fights for peace over violence and division, we present this piece called Warrior's Rhythm. Let's move, let's move, let's go Detroit. Let's move, let's go. See, this is a rhythm, a warrior's rhythm, victorious rhythm, it's glorious rhythm. Say Yahoo, say Yahoo. You hear it, you feel it, it's there in the spirit, it's there in the lyric, don't ever compare it. Say Yahoo, Yahoo, Yahoo. The beat in the cradle, defeating the label, the people are able to eat at the table. Now Yahoo, Yahoo. Divided as ever, we gotta get better, united together, we tighter than ever. Now Yahoo, say Yahoo. For God forsaken, forever mistreated, debated, disputed, but never defeated. No hate, no more venom, straight with the rhythm. Celebrate rhythm, we elevate rhythm. The beautiful rhythm, the The powerful rhythm, the beautiful and the powerful. And we chant and we dance like this, y'all. Side to side, with your hands high. Side to side, like this, y'all. Like that, y'all. Like this, y'all. Get low, get low, get low, get low, get low, get low, get low. Let's go. This is a rhythm, a glorious rhythm, victorious rhythm, is glorious rhythm. Say yah-ho, say yah-ho. You hear it, you feel it, it's there in the spirit, there in the lyric, don't ever compare it. Say yah-ho, yah-ho. It's the beat of the cradle, defeating the label, the people are able to eat at the table. Now yah-ho, yah-ho. Divided and separate, we gotta get better, united together, we tighter than ever. Now yah-ho, yah-ho. Forgotten, forsaken, forever mistreated, debated, disputed, but never defeated. No hate, no venom. Straight with the rhythm, celebrate rhythm, we elevate rhythm. The beautiful rhythm, the powerful rhythm, the beautiful and the powerful. And we chant and we dance like this, y'all. That y'all, like this, y'all. Say pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, like this, y'all. Side to side, get your hands high. Side to side, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, like this, y'all. Side to side. Hands high, side to side, like this, y'all, like that, y'all, like this, y'all, right up, let's go, let's go. Say yah-ho, yah-ho, yah-ho. We say yah-ho. This side say yah-ho. Come on, yah-ho. We say yah-ho. Let's go, yah-ho. Only y'all, yah-ho. Over here, yah-ho. Everybody, yah-ho. Yah-ho. For the elders and the babies. That we shaping like this, y'all. Side to side, one love in the sky. Side to side, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Like this, y'all. Like that, y'all. Like this, y'all. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Like this, y'all. Like that, y'all. This, y'all. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Like this, y'all. Like that, y'all. One love, Detroit. One love, Detroit. One love, Detroit. One people, one city, one nation, one love.